KLIF News and Information time is now 6:51.
Flight attendant is like, well, you need to get off this flight. We did nothing wrong either. So then everybody stopped talking on the flight like, this is crazy, this is ridiculous.
A passenger who was kicked off the Spirit Airlines flight earlier this week has hired an attorney now in Addison to represent her.
His name is Scott Palmer, and he joins us live now to tell us more about this case. We talked about something else with Scott yesterday. Good morning, Scott. Nice to talk with you again.
Good morning. Thanks for having me back on.
Well, we heard this story, of course, when it first occurred. This was going on in Los Angeles at a flight bound for DFW, and now one of the passengers, as Amy said, is your client. Tell us what is the basis of this case? What happened to those people?
Well, from her perspective, she did nothing to deserve being removed from the flight at all. This is apparently a situation where the flight attendant created a situation, lost control, and then it snowballed from there. And then they called the police, and the police, when they get on a flight, apparently they remove people. That's what they do. And there wasn't much of an investigation. And 7 people, all of African American descent, that's the common denominator here, were removed. So the race issue is kind of apparent just in the evidence of who was removed. So we're looking into whether that was the motivating factor or not at this time.
Were those 7 people traveling together, or did they know each other?
4 of them did. Four of them were coming from Vegas to Los Angeles, then back to DFW. The other 3 were strangers to them, but they were all sitting within a few rows of each other, which is why they all were connected by this situation that was mishandled by the flight attendant.
Okay, what was that situation? It's been described as a disturbance, and then, of course, the people who were removed from the flight deny that there was such a disturbance. What was that all about?
Apparently, it was a seating mix-up between a man in the first row and a lady, and they were sitting in the wrong seats, and they switched themselves and figured it out. And the flight attendant, then said, "No, you have to go back to the other seats." And it was just a much ado about nothing. He literally took a situation that was normal and routine and just literally went nuts with it. And we don't understand what his issues were, if he had a long bad day, where he'd flown from, or why he decided to make this a big deal when it wasn't. And this is like a routine situation on an airplane. People always mix up their seats, but his handling of it basically was the disturbance that all the passengers reacted to his overreaction, and that's where we have tensions. But that's not. He started the mess, and these people were just like observers and commenting on it, and then he lost control and then called the supervisor, and they called the police.
Sounds like the flight attendant should have been kicked off the flight, not the passengers.
That's exactly what I said yesterday at our news conference. He should have been deplaned instead of the passengers. But flight attendants have a serious power. They have a power, and they sometimes wield it poorly. And this is a situation where lots of lives were affected and disrupted. In fact, the whole flight sat there for about an hour and a half, delayed because of this madness. So this was not just the 7 passengers that were affected. Everybody was affected, but they were affected obviously worse because they had to get rerouted and had to sleep over in L.A. again.
Yeah.
And this is just,
You said that the passengers responded to the flight attendant's response. Were we talking about? I mean, I'm trying to understand why it was just black people removed from the plane.
Well, that's what we are too. I mean, the people that I've spoken to about this, and I've interviewed 3 of the traveling companions, and there were other white passengers that I've seen on interviews in L.A. that commented on the lunacy of this whole thing. So I don't understand why they were the only ones removed. They were vocalizing their disbelief that this flight attendant was being so ridiculous in his demeanor. So apparently that was the triggering factor to have the flight attendant then tell the police that these are the people that need to go. Anybody that voiced any dissatisfaction with the way he handled it apparently were removed, and they're probably going to say it's just a coincidence that they all happen to be African American. We're not so sure.
Any apology or any word yet from Spirit Airlines?
No, not yet. I mean, we've sent a letter to them yesterday, and we'll be waiting for them to respond to our letter. And obviously, the media has covered this quite in depth, and we expect a response from them soon. But they've said that they don't, they will not stand for any discrimination. We expect that sort of PR type of reaction, but nothing specifically that Ms. Wright at this point.
All right, Mr. Palmer, thank you again for taking time to talk with us this morning. That's Scott Palmer. He is a defense attorney from Addison.